Okay, so this is the first video that I would say is really the meat of the course, the data mining and machine learning part of the course. So in the previous videos we went over syllabus and overview, and I posted some videos how to install Weka and some of the basic things, but now we actually get into data mining and machine learning. And the name machine learning, you might ask, can a machine really learn? And there's a lot of debate over that, and there's some limits of learning and other things, but we can learn enough to be really to do really useful things, better than a human could learn in some ways, and not as good in others. But for processing really large data sets, as a person, we reach limits of how much we can remember at any given time, which a computer doesn't. A computer has no problem going through millions and billions sometimes of records and making some sort of or doing some sort of learning on that data. And so the main theme that we'll always come back to in this course will be using historical data to make and sorry about my handwriting, but we'll be using historical data to make future predictions. And so you might question how well we can do that. And for certain things, it's definitely questionable. We can take historical data for the stock market, and most people, their first idea when they realize the power of machine learning is to say, hey, I'm going to make a bunch of money in the stock market. And that one's a lot tougher because historical data may not necessarily, what happened yesterday is probably won't happen tomorrow or the day after. So it's really tough in certain areas, but in some areas it's surprisingly accurate. So we have our salaries, that data set that I posted to Blackboard, and we can learn that, well, I should say as a person, we can look at that salary data, and we can say, in general, we notice that the more experience a person has and the higher their job title and so on and so forth, the more money they're going to make, the higher their salary. So their salary is a function of those attributes. And we can say that in general, and but a computer can look at that data and it can say it with much more exacting results. So we might be able to just give the general, okay, it's going to increase as the salary is going to increase as those inputs increase. But a computer can look at maybe millions of those and say with a pretty good accuracy, numeric accuracy, exactly how much it'll increase. So let's actually go ahead and bring up our salaries here, and so we can see that we have our rank and our discipline and our years and so forth, and then that our salary is a function of those other things. And so in this example, you'll notice that we're working with salary, which is a number. And so there's different types of learning. The two types that we're initially going to work with will be numeric prediction and then the second time will be classification. So if any of you have ever taken a stats class, and maybe you did something called linear regression, and that's one of the things we'll work with, and you won't have to do these by hand. The great thing about having these tools in machine learning is that we can actually have a computer do it for us. So all we have to do is prepare the data and get it into a format the computer understands, and then that's known as numeric prediction. So our salaries example is an example of numeric prediction. What we're trying to do is predict this number. So we have a bunch of inputs that we have, and then we try to predict this final number. With classification, our play example, that's given in those previous YouTube videos. So if you're not familiar with that, it's basically a data set, and it's a toy data set and that they made up that actually turns out to work pretty well for giving examples, because it's a small data set that you can look at and kind of get your mind around. And basically they're going to play some game, basketball or football, and based on the weather, there's different conditions. If it's too hot, you don't want to give people heat stroke. If it's rainy, it's probably not practical to play. And so you have all these, and then we have a final value. In our salaries, it's a salary, and this is a classification. Our two classes are yes and no, and we can see this is defined up here. And one of the ways to do that, as they noted in the YouTube videos, is things called decision trees. And so we go down that tree and we input all our data, and based on that tree, we follow the tree, and then we get an answer, yes or no. And with this, what we do is we say for linear regression, for example, we feed all our input data to an equation, and that equation spits out a number. So that's the two types of learning that we'll initially go over. And I should say, give some examples here of exactly the algorithms that are used. So in here, we'll say LR for linear regression. And then this example that was actually done in the YouTube videos was J48. Okay, I hope that kind of gives you an idea of what we'll be working on in the next couple weeks. We'll try to stick to numeric prediction and classification, and get some working knowledge, and go through Weka and actually feed it some what are known as R files, and I'll show you how to prepare the R files and get some useful data. So stay tuned for some more videos coming up really soon.